Here's KATC meteorologist Bradley Benoit.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, scattered showers and storms possible as we head through the course of the weekend, although no particular day looking like a washout. But of course, it's all about the tropics. We'll get into it here in just a little bit. But first, let's take a look at the bigger picture here, our setup and what we have going on in the mid and upper level parts of the atmosphere. And we still have an inverted trough just off of our coastline, and that's going to help to keep the scattered showers and storms in our forecast as we head through the weekend. Upper level low off to our west, and that's going to continue to move eastward as we head into the weekend and the first parts of next week, and should help to draw our area here just off the coast of Florida eventually toward the north with time, perhaps closer to the Florida Panhandle and maybe other parts of the northern Gulf Coast as we head into next week. Again, we'll get into that here in just a little bit, but first take a look at the rest of the tropics. One spot just off our coastline again still has a low chance to develop, but really I don't think this is going to do much in the coming days. Of course, we have TD number 19 just in between the Florida coast and the Bahamas here. Got a little bit better organized today with the showers and storms getting closer to that broad area of low pressure. So the Hurricane Center did designate it here as Tropical Depression number 19. And then quickly elsewhere in the tropics, we do have Paulette and Renee both continuing to head out to sea, and then two other areas close to the African coast. One will have about a 90% chance to develop, the other a 40% chance to develop in the next 5 days. But the thinking today is that most of these systems, at least in the days ahead, should kind of recurve out to sea and not be much of an issue. But of course, it's all about Tropical Depression number 19 here closer to home. This is the 4 o'clock advisory. Winds at 35 miles per hour and generally moving to the west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. So forecasted to cross Florida, head into the eastern Gulf again. And it looks like the upper level steering patterns are going to kind of break down here as we head into early parts of next week as it nears the Florida Panhandle as a pretty strong tropical storm here, winds of 70 miles per hour. But keep in mind, the intensity forecast, the least reliable out of the two. So this could easily, again, perhaps be upgraded to a hurricane upon landfall. And keep in mind, a lot of warm waters out here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico and relatively low wind shear at this time. So it does look like environmental conditions at least conducive for a gradual strengthening of this system. And then notice Wednesday perhaps making its way toward the Louisiana coastline. But again, notice the cone of uncertainty here extends all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, covers the entire state of Louisiana. So of course we're going to have to keep a close eye on this. But if this center track holds, at least according to this, the worst of the impacts and the heaviest of the rainfall would stay off to our east. But of course, we're going to continue to closely monitor this system. So let's track it out according to the Euro model here. Again, taking our two tropical storms that are in the Atlantic right now out to sea. And then notice closer to home here, taking a tropical storm here heading into Sunday afternoon is when I paused it, right around the Florida Panhandle. But then notice as we put it into motion heading into Wednesday, it doesn't move a whole lot. Maybe it drifts a little bit further to the west heading into Wednesday morning. But bottom line, that's why we've kind of been saying the last couple of days that the main concern with whatever develops from this system is going to be the heavy rainfall threat. But notice the heaviest of the impacts a little bit further off to our east, and then that kind of keeps the tropical moisture in our forecast for late next week into the weekend. And then notice another area, potentially Sally or Teddy, depending on which comes first, likely staying out to sea, and the Euro model tries to swing in a front through the southeast sometime next weekend, but we'll see how that plays out. So as far as rainfall here, this is according to the Euro. This is through next Friday, so a week's worth of time here. And notice for us here in Acadiana, not a whole lot, perhaps a half an inch to an inch of rainfall. GFS model kind of shows a similar story, maybe a little bit higher. But notice if we go just a little bit further off to our east, Euro picking up on 12, perhaps 20 inches of rainfall somewhere along the Alabama, Florida Gulf Coast here. This may be a little bit overdone, but nonetheless, it paints the picture that a very heavy rainfall event is looking to set up for someone along the northern Gulf Coast. This could, of course, slide a little bit further off to the west. So we're going to have to be vigilant. We're going to have to pay attention, but at least at this point, worst of the impacts looks to stay a little bit further off to our east, but of course we'll have more here coming up at 6 and 10 and through the weekend. So for the day, tomorrow high temperatures in the lower 90s and about a 60% chance for scattered showers and storms, primarily a little bit later on in the day and into the early evening time frame. Rain chances stay in the forecast over the next 10 days. No particular day looking like a washout, at least through the weekend. And then for most of next week, the forecast is going to heavily depend on what happens out in the tropics. So keep in mind, rain chances could come down a little bit, but they can also go up depending on the track of our tropical depression. That'll do it for weather. We have much more coming up right after the break.